Hello everybody, I'm Matthew Street and welcome to my channel. I really appreciate you all being here. And folks, this is a special edition of the Matthew Street channel since I just did a video this morning. But I just received some news not too long ago and I felt compelled to come on and share it with my viewers and friends here. The word just came early this morning. Eddie Van Halen, age 65. One of the founding members of Van Halen, one of the greatest hard rock bands of all time, and probably one of the greatest and innovative guitarists, lead guitarist of all time, has passed away, as I say, at the age of 65 from a long battle with cancer. I don't know what type of cancer, unfortunately, so I can't share that with you, but I know Eddie was a big smoker for many years, probably most of his life, and it could have been lung cancer, but I don't want to confirm that for sure. Maybe one of you can help me with that. But I know I haven't done a lot of Van Halen videos in my almost 4 years here on YouTube, but I am a big Van Halen fan. I have been since day one. When it comes to hard classic rock, I mean, Van Halen's in my top 5 for sure. And I just thought to pay tribute to Eddie and the wonderful music he helped create over the years and pleasure that he gave me through his music. I just want to share a couple of quick memories about Van Halen throughout my life. Again, I don't have everything by Van Halen. Most of my collection is now CDs, since in the early days, you know, the late 70s coming into the 80s, I had Van Halen cassettes to play in the car. So I only have one piece of vinyl. It's this one that I got in 1980, their third album, which came out in 1980, called Women and Children First. Here's the back. And I got this one on vinyl. I'll talk about this one first because when I joined the United States Air Force in 1979, I went through basic training and tech school training and all that. I ended up in England for 2 years, from late 79 till late 81. And one of my closest roommates over there, by the name of Chris, and I can even show you a picture of me and Chris in the service together. Here we are, here's me and Chris in our room. You got Chris wearing the little blue beret over here. Here's me in my fatigues. And as you can see on the wall, we've got a Cheap Trick poster. We've got another Queen poster over here. But we spent 2 years as roommates in the United States Air Force. And he was the guy who turned me on to heavy rock and heavy metal. You know, I was a power pop. I liked punk rock, new wave, you know, that kind of stuff. The Beatles, the Stones, British Invasion, all that stuff. And I turned him on to that, but his gift to me was turning me on to heavy rock and heavy metal. Heavy metal at the time being like, you know, Judas Priest, AC/DC, Van Halen, you know, that kind of stuff, which, you know, now pales in comparison to some of the garbage metal that's out there. But anyway, that was our metal. So here's me and Chris. There's a young me right here, as you can see, with hair and everything. So thank you to Chris. And one of the albums that we really got into a lot was this one, because it was the brand new Van Halen album after I had first met him and became roommates in early 1980. Women and Children First. We wore this thing out. I even have it on the CD right now. I just love this album. It brings back so many fond memories of being Chris's roommate and becoming friends with him. And we are still friends to this day. And as a matter of fact, he was the one who just gave me the news through texting that Eddie had passed. So, hello, Chris, if you ever watch this video. But, so I want to talk about that one. We were in the room, roommates together in the Air Force dormitories and cranking out the Beatles. I turned him on to the Beatles, heavy metal, Van Halen, and the memories of Van Halen music and all the albums we listened to, because at that point we had the first album, the second album, Van Halen 2, and we had Women and Children First, and then right before we both shipped out of England to come back to our separate bases here in the United States, Fair Warning came out. So we got into Fair Warning a little bit too, which was their fourth album. But anyway, just some quick Van Halen memories in memory of Eddie. Van Halen 1. Wow. What a groundbreaking, innovative album. An album that I will love and cherish forever. And I kind of consider these albums, the one that came out in 79, Van Halen 2, kind of like twins. Because when I worked at Burger King, remember my video about Burger King and the Beatles? Go back a few videos. Burger King and the Beatles, or Beatles and Burger King. When I worked at Burger King, when we got to closing time, the microphones they had for the people up front to order the food over the mic, they'd call it back. One Whopper with cheese, or large fries. Need more drinks over here. That kind of stuff, and they would call out the food. At the end of the day, when the place closed, we would put a boom box up to that microphone, crank the volume so it went throughout the whole store, because we had to do cleaning duties and whatnot for the next day. So there was no customers, just the workers. It'd be me, like the assistant manager, and a few of the other workers would be doing the closing duties. And we had these on cassette, and these albums were cranked over the Burger King loudspeakers. We'd be singing along, dancing to Burger King, to Van Halen at Burger King while we were cleaning and just enjoying the moment. And what exhilarating, energetic music. Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2. Love these albums forever. And certainly I already mentioned this one a little bit. Being in the dormitory with Chris, my roommate and lifelong friend, we got into this one, Women and Children First. Every time I hear this album, it takes me right back to 1980. Thank you, Chris. Of course, the next one came out in 1981, was Fair Warning. And I wasn't at first as big a fan of this one as I was of the first three. But over the years, I've gotten into it. And there's some good groovy rockers on this one. Fair Warning. And of course, all throughout all these folks, you got to say Eddie's guitar playing was just from out of this world. It was otherworldly, how this man could play the guitar. And it's just unbelievable what a talent he was, and we're certainly going to miss him. 1982 was probably one of my least favorite Van Halen albums, or down there, is right here, which is Diver Down. Had some big hits on it, like their cover of Pretty Woman and stuff, but not one of my favorites. Came out in 1982. By this time, I was in Plattsburgh, New York, in the Air Force, up at Plattsburgh Air Force Base. I got into it a little bit with my buddies, but it didn't have the same impact as the first four, or the classic four, I like to call them. Well, in 1983, though, they came back, 83 going into 84, they came back with 1984. This one, the video hits off this, the hits on this album was immense. This was the last one with David Lee Roth, and I got to tell you, folks, it's a great, great album, and a fitting way to end that first run with David Lee. It's just a great, great album. I have a lot of good memories of this one as well. Of course, a couple of years later, in 86, they came back with Sammy Hagar as the new lead singer on this one right here, which is 5150. I get the numbers messed up. 5150. And I got to say, I'm a Dave guy, all right? David Lee Roth is my favorite lead singer with Van Halen because he was the original. He was the guy when I was a teenager and coming into my early 20s. He was the guy. And I still regret to this day that I never saw them live with David Lee Roth. Something I'll always regret. And he's just my favorite. But I gotta say, I like Sammy. Sammy's a good guy, and he was a good replacement for Dave. And especially on this album, this is my favorite with Sammy, the first one. 5150 is a great, great album. Very innovative guitar playing by Eddie. And I highly recommend 5150. I believe it was 1988. They came back with OU812, still with Sammy Hagar. And I don't like this one as much as 5150, but it's a good album. There was a lot of cool hits on here and great songs. And of course, Eddie's guitar playing never falters. This is the last one for a long time of Van Halen albums that I got. It's For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which came out, I want to say 91 or so. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks. 91. Good album, okay, but I just felt they were kind of slipping a little bit at this point. It just didn't have the same impact as that first one with Sammy. And it seemed every album after that first 5150, they were slipping a little bit in my mind. Maybe, correct him if you don't agree, I'm sorry. But I got this one, and I don't listen to it that often anymore. There's some good songs on it. But after this, folks, oh, and let me say right now that I saw them live on the OU812 tour. Saw that tour. Didn't see them on this tour, but the one that came out after this, I want to say it was 1995, was Balance. Came out in 1995, and I didn't even get that album, folks. By that point, I was just losing interest in them. But I did go see the Balance tour. It was the last time I saw Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. 1995 or 1996. I saw a couple of shows on that tour. And it was good. I mean, live, they were always great, but the albums, just for me, were kind of slipping at that point. Then there was one, Sammy leaves the band and Gary Cherone from Extreme comes along, and they do an album called Van Halen 3, which, God bless Gary, he's a great singer. I love him with Extreme, but the album it wasn't good for me. I didn't even buy that one. And then, you know the history of Van Halen. I'm not going to go through it all here, but I have to say, after many years, they got back with David Lee Roth, which is something I always wanted. And in 2012, I want to say, yes, 12, they put out the album A Different Kind of Truth. And folks, I was pumped up again about Van Halen. I went out, and especially with David Lee Roth back, I grabbed this album. And I got to tell you folks, you know what? This is a good little rock and roll album. It's a nice addition to their catalog. Eddie is on fire. He's playing great. I love this album. Great stuff. I was happy to see them back, and of course after that, it's been 8 years. They kind of floundered again for a few years. Are they going to be with Dave? Michael Anthony's out of the band, and who knows what's going to happen. And then Wolfgang, Eddie's son, comes in on bass, and I had nothing against Wolfgang. I think he did an admirable job. And 3 years after that final studio album, they came out with Van Halen Live, the Tokyo Dome in Concert. And I went right out and picked it up, folks. I was a fan again, and I was, hoping there'd be more going on with them. Open it up for you. Great, great set list here. Double CD. I'm sure you can get the vinyl of this as well. But I thought this was a great album. Great live album with David Lee Roth. David's voice is not the same as it once was, but he does an admirable job on here, and it's not a bad live album. So that's it, folks. Those are my last two that I got regarding Van Halen. I don't think they've had a release since those two. Correct me if I'm wrong, since that live one in 2015. But I've always followed what's going on with them. What's happening with David Lee Roth, what's happening with Michael Anthony. He's teaming up with Sammy, and they're fighting with Alex and Eddie, and they're not getting along. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole history. The troubles, trials, tribulations they've had throughout the years, but a great, great band. A band I'll always think fondly of, and certainly Eddie. Eddie, you were a wonderful guitar player. You were top of the game, my friend, and we're going to miss you. And folks, play some Van Halen today in tribute to Eddie. A great, great person. A great, great soul from all people who knew him. I've read some things that he was a really good person, and he had his troubles, but he really had a good heart and did his best. And I know Wolfgang looks up to him immensely as a father, and I'm sure the family's going to miss him. My heart goes out to his family and friends. So rest easy, Eddie Van Halen, folks. What a talent. We're going to miss him. Eddie Van Halen, 65 years old, just passed away. Take care, folks. God bless you, and God bless Van Halen.